Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. This is S and Reza from Century 21 Innovative Realty. We are at episode number 12 now, so a milestone episode again. And today I've got a good friend of mine and a special guest on the show, Miss Tina Francis, who is a business regional development manager and also an entrepreneur who runs several businesses and is a super mom as well, I might add. But thanks for coming on the show, Tina. Thanks so much.
Not a problem.
I appreciate your time.
To be here.
Thank you so much. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself before we jump into some of the technical questions?
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Go for it. I'm not too technical.
I know, right? I've been in the mortgage/banking industries for over 20 years now, having held many different roles, but most recently in business development. So I've held a business development management position for 3 to 4 different companies. So most recently, I'm currently with an alternative lender, a bank, and enjoying it very well. I'm also a mom of 2 kids.
Nice.
My youngest one is turning 2 this month, and I've got a 6-year-old. And I am also a franchise owner, which is how we met, of Idea Lab Kids. So we have a location. I've got a location in Pickering, and we are building a second location in Whitby.
Fantastic. Yeah, and we'll talk about Idea Lab Kids as well later on as how we met, like you said.
Yes.
Another opportunity for a business that I'm involved in with you as well. It's been going great so far. But I guess before we get to that, talk a little bit about how do you manage everything? With the 2 kids and with the businesses and your day job. What's your secret?
You know what it is, because I'm also so aside from what I've mentioned, I'm also a real estate investor. I dabble in real estate. You know what? Honestly, number one, I think a supportive family. I've got a very supportive partner, my husband, who I've been with for 23 years, and we just know how. He knows what to expect from me. I know what to expect from him. We have great communication. So we just make sure that we plan meticulously so we don't miss any of the kids' programs, any deadlines for work. He also has a very stressful job. And we just make it work somehow. I just don't kind of like wing it. I have to plan it, everything weeks in advance, right? I look at my calendar. My calendar is my best friend, and that's how we make it work.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I'm trying to work on myself because I also have 2 kids. And sometimes when you're self-employed or have your own business, it can get a bit challenging because you might have to work in the evenings or nights or weekends. So just meticulous planning, like Tina said, I think for all of us looking to get into business or entrepreneurship, because family time is the most important time.
And that's why you're doing the business. Is
absolutely
pretty much for family,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I want to add also, with the business part of it, just having the right infrastructure in place.
Yeah.
And I was able to do that. I was able to build a solid foundation. I was able to grow my team. I've got 18 instructors now.
Right. Nice.
And staff members. So, I lean on them heavily. Yeah. When it comes to the operations of the business. I don't do everything on my own, right? I have to, I wanted to and was able to hire very intelligent, competent, reliable people.
Nice.
And I'm very lucky.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great. So normally this, the podcast is focused about real estate, but the reason why I want to get you onto the podcast was because you have, the entrepreneurship experience. And a lot of our audience, in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, they are, budding entrepreneurs or want to get into business, whatever it is, but they always have a difficult time, figuring out where to start first, right? So just based on your experience, how have you been able to turn your passion into a business, like this Idea Lab Kids, which is an after-school childcare program? How did you turn that into a business, and how did you get started? What was your story?
Well, my number one motivation was my oldest son, Aiden, and so this journey started when he was 2. He's 6 now, and I really was looking for a program that was going to be challenging for him, just knowing the type of child that he was at the time, researching STEM. And that's how I ended up reaching out to you. So I did not know anything about the company, Idea Lab Kids, but the more I saw what they had to offer, it was something that I really wanted to bring to the GTA, particularly in Durham, where I live. And that's how it started.
Right.
And I actually had just finished doing my MBA about a year or so back. And I was looking for something. I know I wanted to stay in the mortgage industry because it is my passion. I've been doing it for 20 plus years. I think I'm good at it. I know a lot of people, connections, and I didn't want to leave, but I also wanted to do something as well that was very meaningful and very rewarding. And I thought that was the business that I wanted to be in. So, and using my MBA as a background, it was very helpful. I'm not saying that everybody who starts a business has to have a business degree or an MBA. It does help, especially when you're doing the business planning and the market research, and the financial projections and all of that. Just putting everything all together is probably a little bit easier just because I have the business background. But for anybody who's looking to start, if they really believe in a business idea, I definitely encourage somebody to actually take the time to do their research, do market research, and see what type of competition is out there, see how much it costs, what is your value added, what is your competitive advantage, yep. Right? And then really just put it all together, maybe talk to an accountant, put a business plan together, start talking to commercial lenders, banks, that sort of thing, see if, you can get funding from that business plan. But yeah, if you have something that you're passionate about, I definitely encourage somebody to just go for it. Yeah.
And that's kind of like, that's how we met originally. So for those that don't know, like real estate is my full-time job, but my passion was also kids education and financial literacy. And so me and my business partner, this is 4 years ago, we were in the States and we came across this company called Idea Lab Kids, which is an after-school childcare program. And so like Tina said, they focus on STEM or STEAM education, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And we realized that there was a big need for that program here in the GTA. I mean, there are competitors here, but we didn't see, those competitors really, getting the market share to everybody. And even the ones that were out there, they're good, but we want to take it another level.
Yes.
And so the curriculum for this program we found was really enticing. We brought it here. We're the area developers. We were able to open up 4 franchises so far. Tina owns a couple of them right now. She's opening up one in Whitby. But talk a little bit about the program, what Idea Lab Kids is, what age group do you guys serve, and what are the programs that you guys offer for the locations?
So we cater to children ages 4 and up. So I would say 4 to 13. Most recently, we did launch a preschool program, but that's just for groups of 5 and less, 5 being the maximum. But Idea Lab Kids took it to another level. Yeah. So you'll see other businesses that maybe offer just coding or math programs or tutoring programs. We took it to another level in that it is all encompassing of STEAM. So science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. The kids come in there and they love it. We've got a number of repeat students. They're able to do science experiments. For science, we've done dissections, heart dissections for an 8-year-old. Yeah. That's a big deal. Yeah. Engineering is a very, very big one as well. We've got multiple engineering curriculum. Arts, of course. Culinary arts is a big one. I haven't seen anybody incorporate culinary arts in any of the after-school programs that I've seen anyway. And of course, we've got math as well. But yeah, we do everything: coding, robotics, engineering, arts, science, math programs. So I don't even know how many curriculum folders we have, but it's a lot. Hundreds. And each folder will have about 20 activities, 20, 25 activities. Right.
Yeah. And that says it all because, unfortunately, the school system where we live doesn't encompass everything that you would want your children to learn. And so my focus or your focus was, when we bring Idea Lab Kids to the GTA, is to give the kids an enhancement when it comes to education.
That's right.
So that when they're in high school or university, post-grad, they already have some experience. They've already been, have exposure to the sciences and the maths in a level where it's creative, it's fun.
Yeah.
Robotics, like coding, is a fantastic
hands-on.
thing. It's hands-on, exactly.
Yeah.
So we're going to have the information of the website below. So you can check out Tina's location as well and other locations as well. But you said you're opening up one in Whitby now as well, right?
Yes.
So how's that coming along?
Oh,
Although I know, but like, what tell the audience, like, what are the challenges?
It's right now we're in the permitting process, right?
Yeah.
So I've got a project manager who's also an engineer, who was sending me drawings last night,
Right.
and
he's
we have to look at the mechanical, and of course I don't understand it because I don't have an
Right.
engineering background, so I rely on him heavily to advise me.
Yeah.
All of the things that we need to know. But it is, right? I mean, we found this location. So it's in the heart of Brooklyn on Baldwin Street.
Which
it's
is
a great
in
community.
Whitby, by the way.
In Whitby.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a great community. It is a space that I wanted and found over a year ago, but never really pursued far enough to be where we are right now. And a year after, a few months ago, I found out that it was still vacant, and so we ended up securing it. And we are aiming to open summer of this year.
Nice. And how's the demand been so far from?
We're getting a lot of inquiries. So
Right.
the reason I chose Whitby is because we have a lot of parents and families who travel from Whitby
Right.
and even east of Whitby to the Pickering location, where we've had overflow and people being on wait list, which is why I thought it would be a great idea to spread it out a little bit and have a location in Whitby.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So just on that topic now, going back to, let's say, someone who's looking to get into any business, like with the recent economy and upcoming recession, or if we're already in one, do you think it's prudent for someone to think about getting into their own business now, or would you advise them to wait? What's your thought process for that?
I always think there's an opportunity cost, right? Like if you wait, there may be other players that come up behind you, right? If you don't do anything now and you wait, there's never a perfect time, I say, to get into business or, real estate, that's something else, right? But yeah, there is that opportunity. If you do nothing and wait for, 2 more years, there may be somebody else with the exact same idea that launches their business. And then now you have that first person or, that becomes a key player within that space. Right. So that is why we ended up, just to give you an idea, Pickering launched in the heart of the pandemic in 2021. We opened. It was a very scary time and we surprised ourselves because that location did very well. Right now, the market, the economy is not the best right now, but I still think that this year opening that second location has its advantages too. I didn't want to wait until another competitor stepped in, right? I wanted to build it now and establish a name for ourselves in that community before another player
somebody else comes in. Yeah. And I think going back to your first point when you talked about like doing your research, right? Market research, talking to an accountant, seeing if you get the funding. Like these are all points where I think in a downturn when nobody else is looking to get in, this is where you do your homework and actually start doing your homework, because now you can actually get in with little competition. And I think if you have the information, if you have the numbers, if you think it's a good business plan, then there's no reason to wait, because there's never going to be a good time.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Just go for it. And obviously you make a smart decision. If the money is going to lose business, you want to make sure you don't jump into it too fast. But same thing with real estate. I tell my clients is that, you can wait and wait and wait. You don't have to buy today, tomorrow, or even next month, but keep a pulse on the market, see what's going on. Because if you're going to be like everyone else, say like, I'm going to wait and wait until things get better, everyone's going to come back at the same time.
That's right.
Right. And go ahead.
And there are options. So the lender that I work for, we are a bank, but we're also an alternative lender. And what that means is that we are able to do mortgages for, a person who is self-employed.
Right.
but don't have the history of showing that income in his personal tax returns,
Yeah.
right? Or somebody who is new to Canada, or somebody who's got no credit or bruised credit.
Right.
We are able to help buyers, existing homeowners in these types of situations. So there are always options, right?
Right.
To help somebody, if you have the liquid assets and the capacity. Obviously, there are guidelines we follow by another set of guidelines. But if you are able to get into home ownership now, especially with the prices the way they are, I mean, they've dipped. We were talking about this earlier, where the average price in Toronto has dropped 200,000 compared to last year.
Right.
So it's kind of, in a way, breaking even, because yes, the rates are higher. Qualification is a little bit tougher, right? But then you have a lower average purchase price, which helps kind of balances things a little bit. Yeah.
So are you noticing that, like, switching gears to real estate now and mortgages, because you're in that business as well, with prices coming down, let's say 25%, from the average peak, have you noticed that the monthly expenses, have they gone up or have they stayed the same now?
So they have definitely gone up, especially for those borrowers who opted for an adjustable rate mortgage.
Right.
Obviously, most of the lenders adjust the payments accordingly with the increase in the prime rates, right? So it has been a little bit, it's been challenging, because the Bank of Canada has raised interest rates several times in such a short period of time that I don't think anybody's really foreseen, even those in this industry, right?
No, we never saw it coming.
And what we're seeing right now, especially with the rates being very low the previous years, when now they are renewing, that is when the clients are seeing a jump in their mortgage renewals. But lenders like ours are willing to help our existing borrowers work through that. And in our case, we're definitely open to conversation and see, what sort of affordability issues somebody may have, right?
Right. And just you being in the business and that side of things, like, what's kind of your current real-time outlook as to what is happening right now on the market side?
We did have a slowness in activity in Q4, definitely, of last year, and then Q1. We are seeing a little bit more activity now that we're headed into the spring market. For the most part, I think there's still not enough inventory for the amount of people, especially, when we talk about immigration and how many immigrants were expected every year. I believe the number is about 400,000, right?
Yeah, almost 500,000.
Half a million. So that's huge. And a lot of them want to migrate into the larger centers like Toronto, right? Major urban centers. So, and we're just not building houses as fast as, we want them to be lived in, right? So it's definitely, yes, it's been slow, but we are seeing an uptick in activity.
Yeah, and I'm seeing the same thing. Like, I'm showing a couple of clients some homes in York region. And almost every single house has multiple offers now. Which is crazy, because the rates are so high, but people are still out there. And I think, like, you hit the nail on the head. If inventory was not as low as it is now, like, I think we would have seen severe repercussion in the market. But because inventory is so low, there's upward pressure on prices now. And if you look from what happened last month to this month, last month we had about 3,100 sales. In February, we had about almost 5,000 sales, about 4,700 to be exact. And the average price in January was 1.035 million. In February, it was 1.09, I believe. Wow. So on a year-over-year basis, it was down. But on a month-over-month basis, it's going up now. And I think the main reason for that is because of the lack of inventory. So we'll see what happens. If springtime comes and inventory kicks back up, I think you'll see prices soften again. But if inventory stays low, then it's not a good thing, because prices are going to keep going up. And as realtors and people in the industry, we actually don't want that, because we want more people to get into homes.
Exactly.
That's the philosophy. Speaking on immigration, like, I was doing a survey for my own clientele. About 15% of my clientele, like, year over year, are new immigrants, which is a big, that's a big percentage. That's a big jump, right? Like, I'm showing a couple of guys who just came from the Middle East, and they're ready to buy a home. So the amount of people coming into the country right now and the amount of homes that we're building, like the next 5 years, it's going to become a crisis until we do something about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, just wanted to share my thoughts on the
no,
market.
it's interesting. And people are getting creative in the sense that there's a lot of cohabitation happening. Family members are pulling their resources together, providing gifts. Right. For, for their sister, their brother, that sort of thing. Yeah. People living together, right? So there is, it's strengthening. It's strengthening. Yeah, the buying power of individuals.
Exactly. Yeah. I guess before we wrap up, talk about your experience, if you can, when it comes to real estate investing. Maybe a personal story. How was it buying your first property, and what can you advise to the younger audience as to how they can get in, maybe inspire? How can you inspire them?
I am an advocate. Real estate home ownership for me started when I was early 20s. Nice. I actually
you got in early.
I got in very early because from that time already, when I was 18, 19, I refused to pay rent. Nice. That was just my,
mindset.
That was my mindset, unfortunately.
Fortunately. I got you into home ownership.
Fortunately, sorry. So I remember, and this is when my husband, we were still dating at this time. Right. And I told him, I said, let's pool our funds together. Let's purchase. And at the time, we had there were a lot of condos being built up. We were living in Scarborough at the time, near the Scarborough Town Center. Right. And there was this development that was being built. And they were selling condos at the time. We ended up buying our 723 square foot, 2-bedroom, brand new condo mansion. For $158,000, right? And obviously the prices have gone up since, but that was our first experience being homeowners. And it did. So the good thing about this was it was obviously, because it was a new construction condo, it took years to build. Yeah. Right. And we were at the point where we're like, okay, let's help them shovel, break ground. Right. Yeah. So at the time we were living with his family members. Right. And they were gracious enough to let us live there rent free. Right. And while that was happening, we were saving our money. Eventually we ended up moving into the condo a few years later, and then we ended up getting married. And then from there, I think we weren't even in a condo for a year when I had this bright idea of purchasing our matrimonial home, which we're still in. Right. And you see the values really just appreciating from that time. And then from there, I just dabbled into real estate a little bit more, buying rental properties. Right. And the one that I'm very, very proud of is a multi-unit home that I own in Oshawa. Yeah. And it's a brand new triplex at the time, which you never see. Right. A brand new multi-unit home. Usually the ones that you see are very old. Right. And it was an income generating property from year one. Right. Right. And I took advantage of the low rates. Right. Right. And I was able to generate income from that. So I love real estate. I believe in home ownership. Right. I'm, anybody I talk to, I always kind of, encourage them if they can, get into home ownership.
No, I love hearing the first time home ownership stories because it's
my
inspiring.
My husband was scared. Yes. My husband was like, what do you mean? We have a 25-year loan. It's called an amortization.
But you jumped in. We
jumped in. And
did you anticipate that condo to appreciate the way it did?
It did not. So this was the mistake that we made. We sold that condo.
Oh, you did sell it. Okay.
We sold it. Right. And we didn't know any better. And we were in our 20s when we bought the second home. Okay. So the equity appreciation wasn't as fast as what we're seeing now. So when we had sold it, we sold it for, it wasn't too far off, like an extra $40,000, right? But in hindsight, and what I know now, we should have probably held on to that condo, which would have been free and clear now. Right. Would have been free and clear ages ago, decades ago, right? So, So that was our
and that's something I think on almost every podcast we mentioned this, that if you don't have to sell that investment property, hold on to it, because you're going to save on taxes, you're going to save on closing costs, and then that equity you built out can be used to refinance and buy more properties.
Yeah.
Buy and hold is always a long-term strategy.
Yeah.
But the fact that you got in that young, that's amazing. That's very inspiring.
Yeah, it was a great, you know, we pass by it all the time, right? It's in a great location, right by the mall, right by the, right off the highway. Yeah. It's in a great community, right? Yeah. And rents, as you know, has increased. Yeah. Oh gosh, so much. Yeah. So that definitely would have been an income generating property. For sure.
Well, you did well regardless. And I think for those people that are hearing this and saying, well, you bought it for 150, now it's, you know, 500,000, 600,000. Yeah. You know, I always say, well, there's a will, there's a way. And you have to get creative. You have to get creative now in this market. You know, you don't necessarily have to buy in the GTA. You can buy in the outskirts. There's several opportunities out there. I'm telling you, you know, you can do joint ventures, you can do partnerships. Mm-hmm. But you just have to have that mindset like you did, that I can do it. And if you don't have that mindset, then you've already lost.
Yes.
Right?
Well, we live in Ajax right now. That was the second house that we bought.
Right.
I had not been to Ajax when we bought. We didn't know what Ajax was about. Yeah. But we knew that at the time, and the price that we bought our house for was $350,000. You know, fully detached 4-bedroom home. Obviously, it's probably worth 4 times that amount now, at least. And we just decided, you know, this is where people are going to end up moving to eventually. Right. They were going to get out of Toronto and move to the suburbs. And now people are moving farther. Yeah, they are. Farther than the GTA, right? Yeah. Especially, I always say, look at what's in the area. If there's any expansion, like the 407, for example, is going.
That's a great point.
And it's expanding. Pickering, for example, has a lot of movement right now. They built a casino there. So those are the things that you kind of want to look out for is the development that's happening in those areas, right? Because that's where you'll see people, jobs being created. Yeah. Even in where I am in Ajax, the Amazon warehouse is there, right? The biggest one. So definitely lots of jobs there, right?
That's a great point. Yeah, like looking at just the development nearby. And you'd be surprised because there's so many places on the outskirts of GTA where things are happening. So if you can get in there first, you know, you're sure to make sure you're going to make some money over the long term. But thanks so much, Tina. I appreciate your time here. We're not done yet. So we've got some questions that we're going to ask you like we always do with all of our guests. Just to kind of get to know you more personally. This is some fun questions. So I'm going to throw them at you. The first question I have is, what is your favorite place to travel?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I've got 2, but I would say our absolute favorite is Bora Bora.
Okay, nice.
So I was lucky enough to actually travel there with my husband, all expenses paid by one of my former employers. And we were there for 9 days. Nice. And we stayed at a over the water bungalow. Wow, so that was a one in a lifetime bucket list experiences that I hopefully can
That's awesome.
do again.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Amazing. What's your favorite TV show or movie?
I don't know. I like cartel shows. That's not.
Yeah, that's fine. I like those too.
I'm not into like the romance. You know, even comedies. I love action. I love crime. That's my thing. Okay. Even horror movies. My husband's like, "What is wrong with you?" But that is my thing. Yeah.
That's awesome. And what's your favorite book that you've read?
I've read some business books, but there's one book that I really like, and it's called The Glass House by Jeanette Walls, who is a journalist, and it's just her autobiography of the hardships that she went through with her family, and now she's this super successful person. It's just a really great book. Yeah.
Amazing.
A hardship book. Yeah.
Well, it says a lot about you, how you've, become inspiring to others as well, myself included. So thank you so much. I'm sure a lot of guys and girls who are listening are going to take Tina's story and hopefully it motivates you. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
And for those that are watching, we're going to put Tina's ID Lab Kids information in the content section below. If you like this, please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you at the next episode. Thanks so much, guys. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.